What's going on, everybody? Super excited to have another opportunity to talk to some incredible people in the space. We have no one other than Mr. Wesley Crook over here, CEO FB Block. Great to see you again, Wes.
Hey, actually, good to see you. Appreciate the time today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And we also have Daniel here. Great seeing you as well, sir.
Great to see you too. Thank you for
So
this
we're
opportunity.
we're going to go over a lot of fun stuff here, the things that people actually should be caring about that normally the question they don't ask, the things that they don't usually cover, and it's actually what's going to move us forward as an entire blockchain ecosystem. You know, more than just it's this chain, it's that chain. It's a matter of us all kind of coming together at some point and saying, hey, this is what people actually care about. So that's what I want to get into. I want to get to the bottom of what works, what doesn't, and what people actually need. Like, what are these big organizations really looking for, and what they can actually get from blockchain tech, DLTs, and things of that nature. But before we get going, I think the most important thing for people to hear about is who you guys are, what you all do, and how we're gonna kind of come all together. And Daniel, if we can kick it off with you, if you can give a little brief TLDR on you as well as the company you work with.
Yeah, sure. So I'm in crypto for more than 5 years. My background is from traditional finance. I was head of brokerage and work with investment assets. So that's my past. Now I'm CEO of market making companies. So work with liquidity, help projects to survive on this market. And my current focus is mostly on RWA assets. I believe in tokenization. I think it's the future of blockchain. So yeah, I do a lot of stuff there, run my blog about it. So you guys can join me and follow and see what I do on my X or YouTube. So that's it.
Very cool. And that's the again, this is again little bit of showtime. That's easymm_official, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Mr. Wesley, how about yourself? Let's get a quick intro on yourself.
Yeah, Wes Crook, CEO of FP Block. We're a software engineering firm that focuses on building enterprise-grade software, primarily in the Web3 space here over the last couple of years. But over the last 12 years, we've built industrial software for Fortune 500s all the way down to small investor groups, small CEO founder teams. My background has been spanning over 40 years and 5 cycles, and just another bump in the road as I see it, what's going on out there in the world. But blockchain technology is really a wonderful technology. It's just how we're going to get it leveraged into the enterprises going forward.
I love to hear that. So wait, are you saying that, history kind of repeats itself to a certain extent?
Pretty much about every 20 years.
Every 20 Right. Well, I guess it's my time because I've been doing this thing for 21 years. So I'm dating myself. I'm getting to that point where I can say that. I'm excited to hear where we go from here, man. To be honest with you, just because we get to see all this cool new technology, and all of a sudden we're like, all right, are we moving with it yet? Like, what's actually happening? And we look around, and sure, like major enterprises have been adopting blockchain technology. We're talking about like 70% of major enterprises. Your JP Morgan Chases of the world have had their own private chains for years and years. People are not using it to its full capacity, though. Like, that's what we end up seeing. Like, people are just not leveraging the tech to the best of their abilities. And when I say their abilities, I'm talking blockchain, not people here. Leveraging the things that actually make business work faster, stronger, and really take it to the next level. I guess I'll just kick it off by kind of trying to understand, like, how is this happening? Like, why is it that people have kind of dipped their toes in the water but aren't going full steam ahead, Wes?
Well, I think it comes down to the public chains. So you're dealing with Solana, you're dealing with Ethereum as the 2 majors, and then all the other secondary and tertiary chains like Near and Sway and Aptos and things like that. Enterprises are not going to get sign off from their risk and compliance boards, and they're not going to get sign off from their CFOs when they can't control what's going on in their environment. So as Ethereum gas costs can, who's the guy next to you on the block? You're dealing with government and international regulations like GDPR and personal information that just people are not going to sign off and feel comfortable with yet in the enterprise space on public blockchains. how can you sit there and fiscally manage your business if you don't know what the gas fee is going to be on every transaction, and you're running millions of transactions a minute, moving money. So that's part of the challenge. It's also historically these large organizations invest most of their technology budgets on operations and maintenance support, so there's very little left for innovation. So they're either acquiring somebody or they have small skunk work somewhere that just doesn't make it up through their corporate development teams into production systems. So I think we're seeing that play out today as we talk. Across the thing, and then you throw in the whole wild card of what AI is starting to bring to the table, and just what happened last week with, Codex coming out with their newest version of software. The same thing with Claude. It's changing the whole software world on how things operate. So I think people are just trying to figure out how we're going to do all this in a
Then, if
secure
you don't
manner.
mind me asking you, in regards to the same question here, what have you seen in the people that you work with as far as like larger enterprise clients? Are they hesitant? Are they kind of there, but they don't want to take further steps? Like, what are you seeing?
So yeah, like most of them already thought about implementing blockchain technology. So we talk about technology, most of not Web3 world and crypto, etc. Especially banks, they use blockchain for a long time already. And the question here is not will they use Solana or Ethereum? The question is what their goals are. So if the priority for them internal efficiency, maybe auditability, handling sensitive data, private data, like internal supply chain, for example, or private settlements, why they should go to Ethereum or Solana? It doesn't make any sense, So of course, for them, it should be a private system or maybe a hybrid system. They think about some publicity. So when we have a goal that involves tokenized assets, payments, stablecoin rails, attracting external liquidity, this is where we can talk about public blockchains. And of course, like Wesley already said, we have Solana and Ethereum, which are two whales that dominate the market, and I believe they will do it in the future as well, because when we talk about any other chains, we don't have such adoption and any key benefits that can kill them. So on Ethereum, we have big money. On Solana, we have speed and retail money. And why should we need anything else? So that's my point. In my experience, with projects and enterprises as well, when they talk about blockchain technology, first of all, you have to ask what is your goal, and after that, you can find the best solution for them. And in many cases, it's not about public blockchain at all.
Yeah, go ahead,
Daniel,
Wesley.
you're spot on. We see the same thing. I mean, you really have, we see it now as three buckets. You have the public blockchains, which is Solana, Ethereum, and all those players. And then like we built a framework called Colmate because we think the application becomes the blockchain. It's a private chain, private system. And then you're seeing what we're seeing a lot of effort in right now is kind of the adjacent blockchain. So corporate enterprises are building and maintaining their systems, but they want to tap the liquidity of these markets with the stable coins and have on-ramps and off-ramps and leverage blockchain for what's best for blockchain and the distributed ledger, and not let it get into their corporate systems per se, but have that bridge or whatever you want to call it between systems. We're seeing a lot of that as well. So you're right. The private systems in the enterprise are what they're going to do. It's just how do they get and tap that liquidity that's in those stablecoin markets, between USDC, US Tether, and Bitcoin, things of that nature. So you're spot on with the same. We're singing from the same choir.
No, I got to give credit where credit is due. And one of those companies, it happens to be Walmart. They're terrible at paying people that, they buy merchandise from. But when it comes to tech, man, they implement everything under the sun they possibly can. I've had the opportunity to actually work with those guys at different levels. Right now, I'm actually um, one of my portfolio companies is working with them to get some pretty innovative tech that actually leverage blockchain tech to do verification of individuals through voice. So I know for a fact firsthand that they are always keen on seeing that next level, implementation technology inside of their systems, which is really cool. However, why, I guess, is the best question that I can ask. And what I kind of think about is, tokenization of assets. And I know you mentioned RWAs, Daniel. So when it comes to tokenized finance here, how does this help them? I mean, I've heard enhanced liquidity. I've heard, ensuring that assets are, being settled immediately, even, management of their assets and just tracking things on chain makes it more reliable. What do you think is the thing that moves the needle for organizations this large?
I don't think so. So they have absolutely different goals, mostly related to supply chain management and improvements in internal processes, not like attracting additional external liquidity for their operations. So yeah, like for them, it doesn't make any sense. The another case that can be really interested here is plans of Amazon to launch their stablecoin. And it can disrupt the industry itself because when they launch a stablecoin, what they want to get from that, of course, avoid commissions that typically charged from MasterCard, Visa, all of these payment providers. And of course, they can better retain their users, provide more benefits for them. But in the end, they will save millions or maybe billions on transactions fees that they now spend for MasterCard and Visa. And here we see another big issue for Visa and MasterCard, how they will compete in this new environment when big enterprises can launch their own payment system. It's a big question overall for financial system when you can launch your money inside your ecosystem if you're big enough, and we know that big corporation can do that. So how it will affect the whole monetary system, the current players. So this is a big challenge, and I believe these plans can disrupt everything and change landscape significantly within a couple of years.
And Wesley, when does Walmart start using Kome?
I don't know, man. We need to have a conversation with those guys. But we're seeing a lot of traction. It's very interesting because I met with Circle last week. The guys who run USDC, and they launched a framework themselves called ARC. Same time we launched Coleman, and addressing the same issues. I mean, we literally were like this, the congestion, gas fees, all these things. So they're trying, they're managing across, I guess, 38 different blockchains, systems, ecosystems with USDT. And, they got to manage it from a public standpoint. We're coming from a private mindset of, hey, bring the application to the chain and let the application be the chain. But we were both we literally launched the same time, August last year, and we're both trying to solve the same problem. We just have different philosophies. So, but at the end of the day, I think where it's all going is having one set of standards, one set of rules, one set of best practices, and have this infrastructure called blockchain become a standard system of rules and standards out there, much like it was back in the 80s and much like it was back in the 2000s with technology. When we started down at the very bottom. With our, when back in 86, 87, it was StarNet, Token Ring, ThickNet, ThinNet, all this stuff. Now it's just wireless and Cat 6e for the most part. But no one thinks about infrastructure anymore down there. It's just, where do I plug it in and turn it on? So I think we're seeing the same evolution here in in this space, not just Web3, but just in payment systems and payment rails, monetary systems, government sovereignties, and how they're going to manage their fiat currencies and in the new era and things of that nature. You've seen efforts what the BRICS with the Brazilians, Iranians, and Russians and Chinese trying to build out a stable coin for their currencies. The U.S. has the dollar, but they want to digitize that asset, and so forth and so on. So, and then you have companies bigger than some nations like Amazon, for example, that want to have their own stable coin. Google tried to do it several years ago. Meta tried to do it several years ago, and it kind of failed on them because I think they were a little early to the game. But at the end of the day, we're going to see some interesting things go on, and there's going to be some public-private conflicts happening, on how we handle monetary systems. And Daniel's spot on. If I'm at Visa and MasterCard, I would be in American Express. I'd be a little nervous with all this going on because all of a sudden my 3% fee or 2% fees are going to become, think about like you said, the impact for Amazon in savings, but the impact to MasterCard and Visa in loss of revenue if Amazon launched its own stablecoin and did all their transactions on their own stablecoin. That would be a huge monetary shift within the ecosystems.
Yeah. I mean, a big part of Amazon, for example, is actually having those side deals, right, with American Express or Visa. I have both. Like I have, on my business side of things, I have an American Express that they broker to deal with for you to have a Prime card for 5% cash back. But then they also went on the personal side of things and made a deal with Visa for that 5%. So you're absolutely correct when it comes to actually, having that be a major, major disruption to, the thing that we use every single day, credit cards. But you brought up something that's going to allow me to nerd out just for a quick second here, Wes. You're talking about Cat 6, E here. We're talking RJ45. That's a connection that it uses. And that goes back to the 80s. And now we're seeing more and more people actually adopt it. Like a Cybertruck, for example. It's literally using, Cat 6 everywhere. It's how it runs everything from its, speakers to its entertainment center. Like everything is based off of this technology that's like a couple of decades old now. I mean, we're going on, it's going to be 50 years old pretty soon and we're still using it. What does it take to do that? What does it take for this kind of technology to be implemented over and over again? And I bring this to the blockchain aspect of things because how do we get this kind of technology to be long lasting, to be something that people actually use every single day and continue to build upon? Because we weren't at Cat 6 when this thing first launched, right? I think there was a period of, I don't know, like 20 years where Cat 5 was everything. And then we continue to, enhance and do more. How do we do that with blockchain?
Well, it goes to the standards. So, if using your example, it was Cat 3, then Cat 4, then Cat 5, 5E, 6, 6E, up the line. But it was the same common standard that was put in place on, how the wires are paired and how they're connected through the jacks and, what the parameters for impedance and all the amplitudes and everything that goes with it. So it was a standard, but as they improved the technology, they just went to the next level. So if you you think about it today, if you are looking at, wireless networks, we had mesh 6, now we have mesh 7. All we're doing is increasing range, distance, and security of the signal and the beam. Same thing with Cat 6. So what happens is it becomes institutionalized across the industry and across the world. So everybody's using the same thing. That'll happen in blockchain at some point in time. Think about it in the web, in the internet. Back in the day, it was all IP addresses and stuff like that. Netscape had their moment, www dot. Now, guess what you do today? Everything you do is www dot, or you're now going to your AI engine to do your Google search. But now everybody knows. Oh, if I want to search something, www, boom, that's the website. Go do it. So we'll see the same thing, and we'll see the same exact thing here in Web3. And these open systems as we mature. Now, there will be casualties on the way. We're going to lose a lot of these blockchains are going to become very much irrelevant, or these ecosystems. You'll still have a few Earthlinks and AOLs floating around out there, but at the end of the day, we're going to get to a common infrastructure set of standards in this Web3 space. And, we won't be talking about it. And I think you and I have had the conversation, where's the users in this space? And users don't care about wallets. Users don't care about infrastructure. All they want to do is log in, turn it on, make a simple login. It's safe, secure. It validates who they are. Their money is where it's supposed to be, and they can do a transaction. We're still coming up that stack as an industry, eliminating that. So I think in the next, 3 to 5 years, you're going to see a lot of progress in that space. And we'll be sitting here in 5 years talking about, why were we talking about wallets and talking about ecosystem differences when we're all running on the same blockchain standards and things of that nature, and no one cares. because it's been institutionalized.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. Here, I'll make this fun. Daniel, do you agree? Anything you would change on that answer?
Absolutely agree. Like you can remember how 2, 3 years ago, everyone talked about user experience in wallets, and it was catastrophic for most users who are not familiar with Web3. You just have to download your wallet, copy seed phrase, etc. Now we everywhere, like all protocols use chain abstraction. But still, we have a lot of stuff to do, because for just like a common user, crypto is still like user experience in crypto is still very bad. Like yesterday, I executed a trade on Polymarket and ran a dispute. It was really bad. I have to send USDC from Base to Polygon. Okay, I know how to do it. I did it, but then there are 2 different USDC on Polygon, and it was the wrong contract. Can you imagine, like for common user who are not familiar with crypto, like what the hell is going here? So you have to exchange your one USDC to another one, correctly find this second contract. Then when you want to sign the transaction, first you have to sign the limit. After that, you have to sign the transaction. So for user, it's crazy. I believe like in 3-4 years, with all these agents, smart wallets, etc., users even don't know about what happens underground. So they will use it like we use browser or Gmail or some other things. It will work, and that's it. So it's about trust, about rules, about standardization. It takes some time, but we see a lot of progress for last couple of years, and I believe like in 2-3 years it will be a common standard, especially because we see that huge financial players come to Web3 as well, like JP Morgan, Robinhood, all these things happens right now, and everyone try to make like user experience is much better than it was. And of course, for user, in like 2 years, 3 years, the difference between, let's say, a Robinhood app or Robinhood wallet, it will be no difference. It will be the same, because traditional finance will use blockchain rails, and on blockchain you can do whatever you want, like you now can do it on traditional finance. That's it.
You brought up a lot of different organizations here, which kind of makes it easy for me to ask this question. Like we're talking about, eventually people partnering with one another, right? We see this in crypto all the time, but I think we're getting to the point where we're going to start paying attention, noticing that inside of the larger organizations and corporations. A big problem that we've had in this space has been the bridging, has been the interoperability, has been how do one chain talks to the other. Uh, Wes, like how can enterprise actually keep their control while building out in the open and like working with other players in the market? Because that's kind of scary, to be honest with you, for them, right?
Well, the simple answer, it's a short-term problem, because when you go to a standard infrastructure, you won't have that issue. You won't have to bridge to other chains. You'll be on the same common rail. So, this is just a interim issue that we're dealing with, as, the money and the time and effort people are spending trying to build smart contracts and bridging technology for interoperability between chains is just another proof point of we need to get to a common standard. And when you have a large enough mass, when you start getting the JP Morgans and the Black Rocks of the world and the Goldman Sachs of the world and the Visas and the MasterCards and these $100 billion companies out there, Apple's, start saying, hey, we need to have something common here, that's where you're going to drive the standardization. And this whole interop system issue is going to just disappear. So to me, it's a 1 to 2 year problem. And what will happen is there'll be some competing factions, and then one will just take over. If you think about, I'll go back to my, my age here. Back in the day, IBM put billions of dollars after Token Ring, and after about 5 years, they gave up because only IBM used Token Ring. Everybody else went to the standard of Ethernet, thin net. So you'll see the same thing going on here as we do that.
Not to date myself, but I can definitely relate to things of that nature because Blu-ray was not always the winner when it came to discs, right? There was also a big competition with the HD DVD. So I think that, talk about history repeating itself. We're kind of seeing the same things essentially is what you're saying. It's just figuring out
Absolutely.
who's going to stay on top.
Exactly. There will be a
So,
winner. We just don't know who it is quite yet.
so we should play in both areas and just make sure we have a little bit of everywhere. Is that a good plan?
But, yeah, and build bridges between the various ecosystems until we get to the winner. So you hedge your bets and make some money doing it.
I mean that you laugh, but man, like that is one of those simple things that people forget about. Like everyone is so worried about the price of crypto, and I'm over here going, go find the businesses here that actually make sense. What are people actually building that's solving problems, not just trying to make fake internet money, right? And it sounds basic, but time and time again, you see people losing their shirts because of exactly that. They're trying to find the big next hype that's going to last all of a week. And they end up, being very disappointed with the product, and when they should really be disappointed with themselves. Sorry, I'm LARPing on something that like I go back to time and time again. Like I changed my entire ethos in this space because now my whole goal is like, all right, how do I get businesses to work directly with governments? I just had a meeting today, and I have a pilot with 4 different countries right now for one single business, and these are working directly with these countries. And I'm like, this is what makes sense. Figure out the technology that works across the board, not just for this, one little tiny NFT craze that, somebody made a picture. Like, no, figure out stuff that will actually be long lasting, have an impact for, decades to come. Why aren't people thinking like this?
Because they're just trying to get rich.
But they're making themselves poor while trying to get rich. I mean, that's the biggest problem that I see. I know that
what you see is that you see the masses getting poor, but you see the 4 or 5 people that end up with the billions in their pocket because they were fast enough to do it and smart enough to do it and got out fast enough. So it's people unfortunately societies. We have lost a lot of our critical thinking skills as a society. We've lost a lot of, if you look at the world in general, we as a society, as a humanity, 95% of the people here are followers and mimickers. They're not people that go out and innovate and come up with the ideas. And the ones that do, you talk about, Da Vinci, Einstein, Edison, Ford, those are the names that you hear, Microsoft, Gates. The guys that did something, though, and guess what? Those are the Bezos. That's why they have the billions of dollars in their pocket, is because they thought outside the box and did something. Everybody else just tried to hop on and mimic it or copy it or just follow along. And, they don't understand what happens. And we see that in banking. We see that in trading. We see that in coins. We see that. Yeah, we're living it now. So look at AI.
Yeah,
look at how many people now are software engineers.
Dude, like AI is like one of those things that shows the best, right? It's when I start getting pictures of my kids made with AI for my parents, and I'm like, no, stop. What are you doing? But we're like 20-year anniversary of the movie Idiocracy, and like it's one of those things that like I didn't think it was gonna be this close to home, and it's like here we are. I'm wearing Crocs right now, and the Crocs were literally the stupidest shoes they could possibly find at that time to put in the movie. So we're getting to that point where things are, unfortunately turning out to be true that we thought was going to be a little silly. It's like, nah, this is life. We're getting closer and closer to our Wall-E existence, right? I don't know if you've ever seen that Wall-E, the movie, but we're just sitting back and like rolling through life and not knowing anything that's going on around us because we're expecting the world to run itself, and we're not quite there yet.
Yep, we're getting close to Star Trek.
Daniel, what about on your side of things? I mean, you mentioned liquidity earlier on, something that you kind of focus on and work on as well. Is this like related? Does it actually go back to where money's actually being spent?
It's a good question, by the way, but like I believe with this changing of how we spend money, how we work with corporations, we will like overall my feeling that the monetary system and the whole thing that's going now, it's almost ended because with artificial intelligence, with all this stuff, soon we will need no money at all, like because everything can be produced, by robots, etc. So why people should work if AI will do everything better? So now we have, as Wesley told, just last opportunity to get rich as fast as you can. That's why people don't care about technologies for decades, because I think, maybe it's my personal opinion, but I think that people don't have kind of understanding what will be in 5-10 years, how the world will change, and it will change significantly. Even now, I had a discussion with one of my colleagues. He found a solution like that can broke the whole privacy industry, because now you can create any document with all these identification privacy things by AI, and no system can recognize it. So, can you imagine that? That's crazy. And one of the solutions is WorldCoin, which Sam Altman built. He has a vision. He has understanding. He had it like 3-4 years before, because when he worked with ChatGPT, he understands what will be next. And he created this infrastructure. Who cares about this now? People forgot about WorldCoin. It was hype for months, maybe in 2022 or 2023. I don't remember when it was launched. But now, like WorldCoin, who cares? Nobody cares. But I believe it's a mistake, because they built infrastructure. They still expand their networks. They still collect biometry from people all over the world. And soon it will be the only one system, proven system, that can be used in worldwide space. You have like all countries in one infrastructure. You don't need to create your own government system or whatever, because every person in the world already will use world coin infrastructure soon. And now it's like in your initiative, but soon it will be obligatory. And I heard in one of the last interview, he said that we think about implementing WorldCoin identification in ChatGPT. So you can imagine, if you would like to use any product, you have to pass the scanning system. So yeah, these things are happening now. People don't think about them, don't talk about them, but the infrastructure is building behind the scene. We will use it at some point of time. But now we talk about, I don't know, another meme coins, whatever, which of course like Polymarket or perpetual dexes, because it's easy money. People just want to gamble. The infrastructure is also building. That's my idea of what happens now.
I totally agree with that. I mean, absolutely. Because if you think about it, you talk about tokenization and RWA and all that stuff going on now, and we're heavily involved in projects around that. But go back 2 years, 3 years. How did you fund your business? How did you fund your project? You went out, you got a grant from a public group like Solana or Ethereum. You launched a token. You pumped the token up, built your treasury out, and here's the application. See if that works. But you're pumping out and selling off your token as fast as you can, while the public's sitting there getting hung out to dry. And all of a sudden you're worth a few $100 million, and that's how you fund your company. That game's over. Everybody's kind of figured that one out and is like, wait a minute, tokens, just to have a token launch is not what you do anymore. And, people are now saying, why do you need a token? Versus, oh, it's guaranteed we're going to launch a token. And that's the whole reason we're building the application. Now it's coming around. It's like, let's build an application that actually has meaning and use. And let's use existing tokens, i.e. stable coins or Bitcoin, as that currency and knock off this nonsense. Or if it's a real, like one of the projects we're working on, Nat Gold, where we're tokenizing real world gold within the ground. So they're never pulling the asset out of the dirt. It will always remain there. So that makes sense to tokenize that. And you tie it to a standard. They tied it to a standard called BIV, which is a discount to the gold market. And there's real value there. And then, you start thinking about that. Okay, well, I can do that to platinum and all the hard metals and all the rare earth metals and oil and gas and all these things. But then you sit there and think, well, if I never take it out of the earth, good job, ESG, save the planet. But then you're going, well, I need gold, I need platinum, I need silver to build things with. I need oil to run my industries on. Where does that go? So there's this dichotomy going on in the world we're becoming very efficient at becoming inefficient. And that's kind of what we're going to go through some paradigm shift in our culture, over the next few years that, people just, they don't believe it. It's kind of like, people didn't believe in, airplanes until the airplane started flying. People didn't believe in, medicine, like smallpox vaccines until somebody invented it and saved millions of people after hundreds of million people died. So something's going to happen and we're going to go, damn, that's pretty cool. And all of a sudden it'll just become like a television, or it'll just become like your iPhone or something. It's just something you have. I mean, think about just that conversation. When I was in college, my first phone was a brick phone in my car that I paid by the minute. And now I literally have my iPhone and, I can do my emails. I can talk to my friends. I can video. I can do all these things. Go back 20 years and think about that. If somebody said you could do that, you'd look at them like they had three heads. And now it's just, you can't even function in life without your smartphone in your hand. So we're going to have something happen that, people are just going to go, whoa, and it's just going to become embedded into society very quickly.
So Wesley, you made it really early. You were loaded in college, huh? You had yourself a car phone.
Yeah. That was my present to myself, was a cell phone, because I had to drive from Texas to New Jersey for my first job.
Wow, that's pretty incredible, man. No, talk about stories, but something that I see happening a lot. I mean, I'm glad you brought up WorldCoin, Daniel, because they got sued a lot. It's the legal side of things, right? They got sued by Kenya. I know Hong Kong was investigating them. It was just around the globe, really, like European data protection issues that they ran into. And then they sued the country of Spain to be able to maintain their product in their country. How does legal come into play here? Are we taking things too far? And are courts really going to be the ones deciding what kind of technology we can or cannot use?
So now we see the end of globalization is just a trend, and it absolutely reasonable from some point of view, but unfortunately we see it. And of course, when we talk about critical infrastructure, so Europe just recognize that they don't have anything that they can rely on. Internet providers are American, payment providers are American, everything they use is from America. And what if America decides to stop it because they can see relationships are not in the best level right now? So these questions are arised, and of course they want to keep the critical infrastructure. So now they think about, okay, we need our own payment rails. So we will launch CBDC, we will launch digital euro, we will invest in infrastructure here. Same with privacy. Privacy is the most important thing in the future, because all the documents that we have now, with current technologies, they are not reliable anymore. You have something much better, and who will control it? Sam Altman? Europe don't want it, of course, and any other country don't want. They want to control it. But the idea that final user, if your system is local, you have a lot of limitations. So, for example, you have everything in European Union, but then you go to Asia or to United States or to Brazil, and you don't have any kind of confirmation. So you have to pass all your ID again, verify all your history, documents, medicine receipts, all these kind of things. And if you have the global infrastructure, it's much easier. So it will be a big war between corporations like WorldCoin that can do it on a global level between local governments and region unions because they want to control everything themselves. So yeah, it's an interesting topic. There is no clear answer here. How will it be? But definitely there are two camps, and they will fight against each other. Everyone has their own reasons, but the most important thing, how like final user or like just common people like we will use this infrastructure. Will it help us, or will it make us more complications? I believe, like if we talk about deglobalization trend and region unions, if you are like many people, most of people never travel abroad, like 80% or some kind of that. In different countries, these statistics a bit different, but it's overall like 80-90%. So for these people, nothing changed. But for the rest, 10-20% that usually travel abroad, visit conferences, etc., it will be a huge gap and barrier that they will not like at all.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't want to get too philosophical here, but it goes back to humanity. I mean, it's the technology, it's not the issue. It's humanity. All the way back to the caveman days, it was all about power and control. Everybody wants power and control, and so
wait, did it change?
It hasn't changed. It's the same thing. You look at the world. It's like like Daniel was saying. Europe's kind of like, oh God, we don't have the best relationship with the U.S. now, and everything came from the U.S. Well, the U.S. is sitting here going, oh shit, all our manufacturing's in China. Let's get it. So it's all about who can control who, and I don't know if humanity will ever come to a utopia, but we're one world, but we don't act like one world. And I know that's kind of Altman's thought process was, let's have one common infrastructure, one common coin, one common everything. But then, it comes down to power and control. I don't want to have this guy being able to, that's going to take, Kenya, that's going to take money out of that guy who's running Kenya's pocket, because he's controlling Kenya, and he's controlling the resources in Kenya, and he's controlling the government and all the corruption that goes on in Kenya for his own personal benefit. And, that's just, that's the biggest hurdle, I think, in our space, in our world, is the human being. And then just, just all the cultural differences, and people just can't get out of their own way, because they just don't understand. They're uneducated, they don't care. They're only worried about me, and power, because we have made it in this world. Power and control is comfort, and anything less than that is not. So everybody's going to keep fighting each other to try to be in control.
And so do you think that well, in my eyes, like power and control, I completely agree with you what you're saying. I'm of the mindset that I don't really care about power and control as long as I have liberty and freedom, right? Are those competing ideologies?
Absolutely. What is freedom? Freedom, you're not free. You're controlled by the United States government. They can make your life miserable tomorrow afternoon with sending the IRS and auditing you. Piss off Donald Trump for whatever reasons by texting something on X that pisses him off. You might have the Secret Service at your door, or ICE knocking on the door or something. So it's you know,
I'm an American, guys. Just FYI, I know I look a little brown, but I am American. Just putting that out there. Please don't come. I'm okay. I'm clear.
passport. But no, it's serious. I mean, it's freedom and liberty. What is that? And even people in China. I've talked to people in China that live within the Chinese regimes. They think they're free. It's just that's how the world works for them. They don't know any better. So it's an interesting thing, but it is power and control. There's governments. The U.S. government controls people more than people recognize, with how they pay them, how they tax them, and all those things. It's no different. It's just a different flavor in Europe. It's just a different flavor in South America. It's just a different flavor in Russia. It's just certain people know how to navigate through and get around it, and that's the ones that become powerful and controlling.
Yeah. You're gonna own nothing and you'll like it, basically, is what it means, right? Like, there is no such thing as owning a property. If you stop paying your taxes on that, guess what? It's no longer yours. I completely understand. So, well, let's see if we can change the world here. I mean, I know it sounds kind of silly to say, but where does blockchain infrastructure come in when it comes to having control and actually having ownership over assets? Um, I mean, any asset, as little or as big as it gets. Like, is there a solution in this crazy little fun world that we kind of live in day in, day out?
So the whole idea of Bitcoin and like Web3 ideals is decentralization and freedom and this kind of things. But what we see now, people just try to control it. So okay, like Bitcoin, it decentralized in its nature, but government can arrest your Bitcoin, and they can do whatever want. They want to collect reserves of Bitcoin, and in the end of the day, they can just collect as much as like 60-70% and manipulate how they want. The same we see with the decentralized infrastructure. Still, like in decentralization world, we have a problem when like group of people control everything, control nodes, control the chain. So the idea of Web3 is nice, but with this idea, we cannot see the adoption. Now we see the adoption just because institutions want to control everything, and they found how they can control it. That's the idea. If they control, they can rely on it. If they cannot control, they will not work with it. That's easy.
Yep. It goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago. Is like even the public chains are being controlled by few. I mean, think about it. Binance and that dude, he controls the market. I mean, he can do whatever he wants, and he can wreck it in a minute, or he can make it in a minute. And there's a lot of there's a lot of thought process around decentralized, open ledger, everybody can see what's going on and all these things. And guess what? We've come to a point now where, like Daniel said, people want to control. People want to make sure they can see what they want to see on the chain and not just be open to anybody using it. So guess what we're doing? We're going from a decentralized thesis to a centralized thesis. We're repeating ourselves. We're driving everything back in to one controlled system within a corporation, within a government, within whatever. And that's the only thing I think that's good is the blockchain being a distributed ledger, open book. People can get a better view of what's really happening. You can't quite hide the sausage, so to speak. So you can definitely see what's going on, and if you're smart enough or you care enough, you can actually see how the audit trail goes. But unfortunately, most people in this world don't care. It's like they only, it's kind of like the 2008 financial crisis. Nobody cared as long as they were getting mortgages with no jobs and but buying their houses. But boy, they got all upset when the thing blew up and their house got repossessed and they couldn't afford it. And it's like, well, how'd this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? You didn't protect me, government, type of thing. So, it's unfortunate. People just need to learn and do their own homework and understand what's going on. So, But
But
the
my rate
blockchain,
was fixed for 3 years, Wesley. Like, why didn't the government fix the thing after 3 years? I gave him 3 years to fix my life.
yeah, exactly. But, let's take all these things and chop them up and put them in derivatives and put the junk in there with it and say it's an A bond. So yeah, right. Let's see how that works. But and we're doing the same thing right now. So just wait for it.
So we got a bubble ready to pop, is what you're saying?
No, we got many bubbles about ready to pop. Um, so
So what do we look to? Like, what's the answer? Like, if there is like one area in our, in blockchain or in this tech infrastructure that we're kind of building out right now that people should be paying attention to, what do you think it should be? Like, is there like a singular point that's like, hey, look at this, pay attention to it. You might make some money, but at least at a bare minimum, you won't lose your shirt with all of the other stuff that's going on.
I think the impact, in my opinion, is AI. The whole AI play is going to be be a paradigm shift to how the world operates and lives. I mean, look at the software SaaS players now. They're nervous because software. If you think about it, we're getting good enough with these tools that software is disposable.
Yeah.
Why do I want to go pay Salesforce for a CRM system when I can just go over to my little Claude or my little Codex and write my own little CRM system and let it run over the weekend and come back and have my own platform? Why do I want to pay you? We're getting there very quickly, and it's we were talking about it this morning in our staff meeting. It's getting pretty crazy. I mean, there's going to be changes. I mean, you think about it. You get good enough. Kids nowadays, they're digital. They don't understand like the old days when it was analog. If they don't have their iPad or their phone, they can't function. Um, we're going to get to that same place with these technology tools like AI, where it's like, hey, write me up a Christmas light thing so my Christmas music plays and my lights go on and flash and hit the button, it's done. Plug the phone, plug it in, and here we go. Or just set my music or automate or do my accounting or do my think about it. If I want to do it today, I can go and literally write a contract using AI that is just as good, if not better, than some $500 an hour lawyer. If I was a $500 lawyer, I'd be very nervous because a lot of I actually read an article this morning. A managing partner didn't believe it. He was like, oh, year ago, it wasn't that good. He started using the newer technologies. He goes, that's like 10 associates for me. He goes, this thing is doing what 10 associates used to do for me. Uh-oh. And if you give it to my client, they don't need me so much.
Yep.
Now there are the limitations of the model still, because even though people talk about it, they can only take so much, maybe 500K of care, of space. There's a limitation still on the size, so you can't go dump a 3,000 page legal document into Chat GPT and get it reviewed. But smaller agreements, a lease agreement, loan agreement, whatever. I don't need a lawyer for it anymore. I can just use this. And that's scary. I mean, and if you think about those service industries that rely, accountants, auditors, lawyers, doctors, I wouldn't trust AI to do a surgery on me right now, but help me diagnose the problem and help me iterate through the issue faster. Absolutely.
It's
So
been better than some doctors, at least in my experience, trying to sort some things out. I agree with you completely. That's why I'm over here at my house. I was remodeling, right? Like, I'm doing my own plumbing, my own electrical, my own drywall, my own flooring. Like, AI is not going to replace that yet. So
no,
I want to stay relevant. You know what I mean?
it won't replace it, but it will teach you. It allows you to understand how to do it. And YouTube's. Think about it. YouTube now is the greatest thing on the planet when you want to go do something, because you don't have to read the instructions. Oh, I need this. Go find me the YouTube video and watch the step by step visually. And it's like, okay, that's how you do it, and go do it. Versus read the instructions. Forget that. Half of it's in Chinese. Throw it in the trash and just kind of go at it with your screwdriver. Now you can actually watch a video on how to do something.
Yeah.
And we're an adaptable species. We're kind of way off topic. I understand that. But the AI technologies, the blockchain technologies, they're great, and they bring a lot of things to mankind. We just have to recognize what they're for, and we have to manage the expectations of what those are for, and and govern it. I mean, you know, AI is scary. Blockchain can be dangerous if you're not careful with it, with what it can do. You know, and that's I think the responsibility of folks like us is to build systems and technologies that are protective and that are auditable and are secure and not nefarious, that the public can use and have trust in. And you know, we're getting there slowly but surely. Every day we're building a little bit more.
So I think that we're not off topic because of what you just said, governance, right? It's how you actually manage things. It's how you actually leverage this technology and and you say, all right, it's good for this. I can use it there, but I don't want to touch this thing. I think we're already at a point, Wes, that people are using it very incorrectly, in the sense that I'm getting into meetings and some people sound so smart. And then I listen to it for longer than 30 seconds. And I'm like, they're reading out everything off of GPT. I know exactly what this is. You know what this is, and they're idiots. They have no idea what they're talking about. They're literally just regurgitating information that an AI model gave them, and it becomes very easy for you to discredit those people by bringing things up that AI doesn't quite get, yet. The nuance is that they haven't learned upon. So I think that it's very relevant in the sense that it's a matter of governance. It's like, how do you actually manage this thing? How do you make it so that it helps you, not become a hindrance? And I think, the AI space is absolutely one of those that's going to be taken off, that's going to be changing. I think YouTube in the next, decade is going to become irrelevant as far as the how-tos, right? It's not going to be like, oh, let me find somebody that did this before. It's going to be a matter of like, hey, let me take a picture of the thing that I'm working on. And all of a sudden AI is going to leverage exact thing that you just showed it and create something on the fly for you to be able to actually see how to do it yourself and walk you step by step. Like, we're not that far from that kind of technology, existing. It technically exists. It's just not very energy efficient, I guess is the best way to say it. So we're definitely moving along quite rapidly here. So it's more than relevant. This kind of technology is the future, and it's something that we're getting to see every single day kind of evolve. So yeah, I guess the one final question, if I can close out with this with you guys, is what's the outlook for this Web3 space that we're in 2026? If you guys had to sum it up.
Daniel?
So, yeah, like first of all, we will see the rise of tokenization even more than last year. And unfortunately, we tokenize the wrong assets. We tokenize things that shouldn't be tokenized, like treasuries, gold, etc. Like, what's the idea? Stocks, you can buy them, but okay, like more ways to buy it. Still, it's good. But when we talk about real business, it would like to attract additional funds for development, etc. It's it's a shit. You have so much barriers, especially from government and regulations. It makes like for small or even medium businesses, it doesn't make sense at all to run with tokenization. It's much easier to use other sources of funding like friends, crowdfunding, etc., but not use blockchain, because when you go to blockchain rails and RWA tokenization, you have to create SPV, make audits, make a lot of stuff, which cost you like 100,000 per year. But if you want to attract, let's say, 500,000 for your business, 100,000 for support, this doesn't make sense at all. It's too expensive. So yeah, we tokenized gold. I believe this year will be tokenization of all other raw materials like silver, copper, soybean, wheat, all these things, especially if we see price dynamics and volatility, you can imagine that it will be tokenized. So this is a trend, but unfortunately, this is not the trend for like small or medium enterprise. And we have a really big gap here, which is also interesting for me. It's merger and acquisition side. Blockchain can improve these processes significantly with disclosures information, especially using ZK protocols, with all these deals, finding investors, maybe like collective investments. But unfortunately, again, we have regulations that stop it. So that's a problem that private companies cannot solve. Only governments, and they don't care. What else? I think privacy is very important as well, and we saw this in the end of 2025 when private protocols like Monero and other chains got traction. I believe because of, again, because of regulations, because of new acts that European Union implemented this year, the demand, especially for people who understand the demand for such private infrastructure will increase as well. And the last trend, which is very strong right now in crypto, we see that Web3 is turning on in gambling. So everything related to prediction market, perpetual trading, options, derivatives, all these kind of things, it will increase significantly because people always want easy money and are ready to gamble. So now we have prediction markets like betting 3 years ago, but now you have, like, you can even bet on your neighbor, will he awake at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever. So yeah, you can bet everything. That's not a technology, you know. It's just it's just a greed of people. And what else? Like, yeah, perpetual, as I mentioned, it will be trend. And overall, DeFi, like crypto cards, all these kind of things, because it's simple, because there are a lot of companies who got fundraising and they can, as they think, they can disrupt the classic industry, but of course not. They just spend too much money on user acquisition. They don't calculate their costs, so they provide programs that you cannot imagine in traditional banks. They will get more users, but how will they retain them? Of course, we will see a lot of bankrupts here in this field because they cannot be sustainable with their models that they have now in a long-term perspective. And bank earn a lot from user funds because they control them. If we talk about non-custodial assets, you have no source of income from user funds. And even if you pay cashbacks, loyalty programs, etc., extremely high, it doesn't make sense where you earn money. So that's why we see this combination of gambling products, because you can just like rope your audience on that product and share some profits from that product to card holders, etc. But it's just channel of user acquisition. I don't think we see really new technology, like you can get loan on chain without like Bitcoin.
Without collateral.
Yeah, that's nothing new, but still it will develop soon, because we see a lot of VCs that invest, and this money will distribute to final users. So if you're smart, it's a good opportunity to use these products to earn some money, to save on your daily spends, etc. But of course, try to find where this company try to earn money from you, because they have less opportunities than classical banks, for example.
Hey, going back to movies, I think this is the full-on Rat Race 2001, where you have all these billionaires betting on random things. It's just, we brought it to the people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think, from my perspective, 26 is going to be about consolidation and, standardization, the standardization process and accelerating. I think you're also going to start seeing the impacts of AI on businesses and the impacts on AI on jobs. And, I think, people are going to start building their own software, what I would call disposable software, you don't need to go spend money to buy a piece of software if you can just spin something up to do the one or two. It's going to be task oriented software
Yep.
versus an enterprise system. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see TradeFi, DeFi merge for the most part. I think you're going to see the big boys, kind of start dictating the market. I think you'll still have the essence of Web3 world, but I think it's going to become a little more mature and grown up. I think compliance and regulatory security is going to become more focused, just because I think people are realizing just how exposed they might be with the data that's out there on them and others. So I think you got that, and I think you're going to see a conflict arise between the public and the private sectors as far as who controls what we do. We got Trump another couple of years, not for or against him, but his policies, the way he's running the country right now in the U.S. I have a very sneaky suspicion it's going to swing back the other way for the next 4 years after he ends his term, which will put a whole new set of dynamics on it. And you look at, I think the Magnificent Seven will not long, it'll be a whole new set of Magnificent Sevens. I don't think the Metas and the Googles of the world are going to be the next generation. That's going to be somebody else, taking them up. I mean, look at Oracle and Salesforce right now.
Yeah.
They are in a world of hurt because of what's going on. And, there's their stock tanked. So I think there's going to be a shift of the paradigm in 26. I really do. That's all I got.
That's no, it's a lot for us to think about. And only time will tell, right? I think that's the coolest part of it, is that we can think about the things that are going to be happening and kind of predict it, but only time will tell what it actually lands on. But if you, again, have such strong, feelings on it, you should probably go on Polymarket and make some money off of it. Since everybody else is doing it.
Yeah, I think one thing that's going to happen is we're going to have some kind of huge threat because of this technology that's going to cause the governments or the society to swing, way to the right versus way to the left. And, I don't know what that'll be, but, crash the stock market, somebody launches a nuclear weapon because of it, something. I think we're going to have an event because of this that's going to be something that's going to impact society, and it's going to cause a major knee-jerk reaction one way or the other. I'm almost positive that's going to happen. I just don't know what it is and when it is.
Yeah. And until then, I'm going to focus on companies that can actually try to fix some of these things. I mean, that is literally what I'm looking at. Like, what is it? What kind of technology is actually looking to keep people safe, prevent some of these things from going on? Because once it happens, everybody's going to be looking around for a solution. And whoever has that solution will likely be one of those new top, companies for sure. Because if you have the solution to a worldwide problem, it's very likely somebody, is going to A, make a lot of money, and B, going to have no choice but to, use that technology to quote unquote save the world to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But gentlemen, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I know you said we're a little bit off topic. I think we're right on topic, Wesley, simply because this is life. We think that blockchain stops a lot of times with your meme coins and, oh, what's the next DLT? But it's literally affecting everyday life and everything that's being built around us. So very, very relevant to the world that we live in. And it's incredible to be able to have conversations with, gentlemen like you two that have the insight into what's going on and see the word for what it actually is, not, through the lens of your world coins, but what is WorldCoin actually wanting? What is it that people actually want, are looking for, between that power and control narrative that we talked about. So nothing else to say except thank you. This has been a phenomenal conversation. I wish I was able to actually have at least one of these a week, man. It just puts things into perspective and sets a tone for what really matters in the world and in life. So I appreciate the two of you so much, more than I can express, for this wonderful conversation. I can't wait to do it again.
All right. See you guys later.
Have a great one, everybody.
Appreciate everybody.